Hello everyone, I am Saili and I welcome you all to Digitate webinars. So this will be our last webinar for this fiscal year and on a very interesting topic of closed loop automation. Let's give our audience a couple of minutes to join in, and meanwhile for our punctual viewers, I'm going to play a small video.
The role of enterprise leaders is evolving faster than ever. As a business leader, you need to innovate, scale, build resiliency, deliver business assurance, and meet customer demands at an accelerated pace. Organizational silos, manual processes, and complex systems increase downtime and decrease employee productivity, putting revenue and customer experience at risk. Your answer is an autonomous enterprise built on context, intelligence, and automation. At Digitate, we have pioneered a SaaS-based autonomous platform with a unique closed-loop approach, leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning to transform IT and business operations from reactive to proactive. Our award-winning platform, Ignio, helps you monitor the health of your business systems and applications, automate at speed and scale, resolve major outages autonomously, enhance end-user experience, and deliver business outcomes. Today, leading global brands use Digitate's autonomous enterprise platform to increase productivity, improve availability and capacity, protect revenue, and reduce operational risks. Lead your enterprise into the autonomous future with Digitate.
Thank you.
With
Thank you very
that, I welcome both of you, VS Joshi and Jatin Raval, our key speakers for the day, to the floor, and hand it over to you, VS.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Sari. Thanks
Saili.
for playing the video. I appreciate that. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good evening, folks. This is VS Joshi. I am the global head of product marketing here at Digitate. And today with me, I have Jatin Raval. He is one of the industry veterans, and he has been in this IT operations space for the last 23 plus years. And he is a group product manager at Digitate. He has been with the company for almost the entire span of Digitate, I would say. I mean, Digitate itself is a 8-year-old company, and I think Jatin has been here for almost 7.5 years of those 8 years. So, Jatin, welcome to the Digitate webinar on closed loop automation.
Thank you, VS. Thank you.
So before we move further, what I would do is I would just quickly give an introduction to folks who are new to this webinar about Digitate, and we say we are one of the leaders in AIOps. So maybe there are some people who may not know about AIOps also in the very first place. So let me give a quick introduction, and I promise you it won't be more than 1 or 2 slides. So Digitate, as you can see over here on the slide, we are one of the industry-leading SaaS-based AIOps platform. And so basically, what exactly is AIOps? AIOps is essentially the application of AI and machine learning to IT operations to essentially make sense of the data, to do cross-domain analysis, to derive insight, to predict and prevent, and to automate remediation. So that is what AIOps means. And with this concept of AIOps, we have essentially built a very comprehensive product suite, delivering business resiliency, agility, and superior customer experience in multiple domains, not only within the IT operations domain. It is also in batch management. It is also in workspaces. It is also in SAP ERP systems. And also, in fact, also in the business operations like procurement processes and things like that. Again, we have a very a robust set of customers. We have more than 270 customers or so, and most of our customers are global 2,000 customers. And again, each and every of the analyst firm, they are all tracking this very exciting AIOps space. And all these analyst firms, they have their magic quadrants, and they have their waves and things like that. And Digitate has the unique honor of being represented in each and every of these analyst firms' reports, whether it is the Gartner Market Guide or the Forrester Wave, or it is the EMA's AIOps Leadership Quadrant. Omdia's AIOps quadrant, something like that. All these analysts, they have given rave reviews about Digitate in their specific quadrants, in their specific reports. But but I think the thing that we value the most is what is it that our customers are saying. And as all of you know, as most of you know, that there are a lot of tech review platforms like G2, Trust Radius, Gartner Peer Review. And these are the platforms where customers come and they talk about the products that they are using and things like that. And we are very proud of that particular rating that we get from the customers. And there you will see we have the ratings of 4.4 out of 5 on these platforms. So again, I think the thing that I want to highlight over here is more than 270 plus customers, and most of them in global 2000, and the reviews that we get from our customers. So those are the main things I would like to highlight over here. And then you will see at the very bottom, you will see the various awards that we have received in this particular space. Okay, now moving on to the next slide. Okay, and again, this is the last slide, folks, about Digitate, and then we will get Jatin on online. So if you look at the marketplace, in the marketplace, you will see various players. You will see the observability players, you will see AI platform providers, and you will also see automation players. Now, what Digitate has done is Digitate has combined all these various technologies, observability, AI powered, and automation. And that has what has enabled us to provide you a closed loop automation, and which essentially leads to a closed loop AIOps solution. And the closed loop AIOps solution leads to an autonomous enterprise, starting with autonomous operations for IT operations and things like that. So, with that introduction, let me kind of move on to the next slide, and let's get Jatin on the call. So, Jatin, welcome. And Jatin, as today our call is about automation, AI, and automation. Uh, to think of it, Jatin, we have been talking about automation. I mean, you started your career 23 years back or so. I'm pretty sure when you started your career, at that time also you were indeed talking about automation. And today also we are talking about automation. So has this automation changed, or is it the same automation? Can you take us through the journey of this automation through these various decades?
Yeah, sure. I think when you're spot on, when I started the journey, obviously automation was there. So it's more than 2 decades. Automation is in the practice across the IT operations. However, the key important aspect is that when we started, it was more targeting the IT operations persona, and the focus was more the productivity aspect rather than the business value aspect. Now, if you see the journey, the initially when we started, it was like isolated automations, script based, command interface based, or scheduler and those kind of activities, schedule activity. Uh, Obviously, there were some benefits, but again, as I mentioned, benefit was more to the productivity dimensions for IT operations persona or the system admin personas compared to the business persona or the business itself. Then slowly in the journey aspect, the next evolution started with the workflow based automations where we observed the SOP based or the event trigger based or rule based or the RPA kind of activities where the workflows are defined. You can say at the high level, the rule based and limited intelligence was there, obviously. Still, I would say the value was up to certain extent was going towards the more persona, towards the business hour. Still, the KPI which we used to measure was still the automation index or those kind of KPIs. Obviously, that's very important, but the value definitions from the business persona perspective was still not there. And this is where exactly uh, you see that people still in the many organizations have these open questions or the concerns that business particularly feel that how long business can function without major incidents for their business critical applications, or which are the tangible business impacts like revenue loss or the failed customer interactions because of downtime or performance or the scalability issues in operationally critical systems, or the intangible impacts like brand image, non-compliance, regulatory non-compliance, or the end user experience. Now,
Mhm.
this is where the journey is moving forwards towards the pattern and the model based automations, where it is probably considering the persona, the while value is for not only for the IT operations persona, but the business value itself is coming out, and how we can concretely help these open questions which business are still having. Because if you see the journey, there are, even after the isolated automations or the workflow based automations, there are still incidents. There are number of changes which are also kind of causes behind the incidents. There are still number of requests and the repetitive activity. So scalability was the challenge with respect.
Okay.
So you are right. Yes, I think the evolution of automation is constant journey. And when I started, now at least I see the direction is moving towards a pattern and model based automation,
Mhm.
and where value aspect will be for the business rather than only for the IT operations person.
Okay. So I think you're highlighting two important points over here, Jatin. One point that you're highlighting is earlier the automation was more concentrated on the IT operations side, but now it is kind of moving more towards, it was moving more towards the, I mean, or it was delivering most of the value on the IT operations side, but now it is delivering value more on the business side, and there is a business value to it. So it is also not necessarily only about the value delivery, but also there is a new technology that is coming into fore over here. And when you talk about pattern and model based automation, I'm guessing this is where the AI component comes into picture. So automation has changed from a technology angle, and it has also changed from whom the value is delivered to at this point in time, right?
Correct. Spot on. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so and again, I
It,
think like when you talked about the journey of automation, but here is a survey. Here is a survey that Digitate had commissioned. It was just in last year, July or so, July 2023 or so, and
correct.
this was a media survey that Digitate had commissioned, and we reached out to more than 600 plus IT decision makers, and these were IT decision makers in companies with more than 1,000 employees or so. And you will see over here, I mean, you will see that on the very top right, you will see 10%. Now these, I mean, what this what this pie chart highlights is various companies are in various stages of automation. If you look at the on the top right, it's 10%. These guys are saying we will rely fully on humans to perform tasks. So essentially, they have not even embraced automation as such, or they haven't even. One can argue that I mean, it's only 10%, but they still haven't started with that journey as such. And then you will see as they keep on moving from like 10% to 34%. Uh, I would say that, and then finally we have the last two, which where they're saying that we will have transition to an autonomous systems that proactively learns and resolves issues and predicts outcomes with limited or no human input. So what this survey kind of conveys is, yes, enterprises are at different level and different adoption levels of automation at this point in time. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. In fact, it's interesting dimension, and one of the key reasons we is behind after that the survey numbers which we are seeing is primarily the constant changes in the technology. We see cloudification and those aspects. So
Mhm.
there are a number of reasons. While where the automation was implemented, probably it was not valid after some time for
Mhm.
the various reasons. So that could be the reason also behind the stage. But you are spot on that the number speaks uh, that
Okay.
automation is limited and probably there is a requirement to improve it.
Okay. But then in today's world, there is a need for a different kind of automation, right? And so, what is this different kind of automation that we are all focusing on at this point in time?
Correct. In fact, that previous survey number, probably you have the answer on this particular slide also. So, when the automation is developed, it has to be the auto adaptive. What we mean by the auto adaptive is that when your technologies are changing, it should be automatically adaptive to your solution, should adaptive to the new technologies. Or there are specifically dimensions where you are constantly being in the reactive mode instead of the proactive mode. And then again, the value aspect is limited. Uh, while the effort is too much, the value seems to be limited. The
Mhm.
scalability is the very important aspect when you are building the automations. If you are just building the rule base or the basic automation story, then it is difficult to scale the automation across the enterprise, primarily in
Yeah.
the absence of centralizing and the automating the. So you need to have the centralized team or the platform which will allow you to scale your use cases across the enterprise. And finally, the risk free. This is very interesting aspect. Uh, Automation also has the risk. So you need to ensure that the risks are managed, mitigated properly to ensure there is no negative impact of the automation. I mean, I will give the one very funny story. in one of our UK customers, someone created the batch jobs, and no one was aware about it. Where when the script-based automation was monitoring that batch job, if batch job is stopped in the background, that script was restarting the job. Now there was the requirement to stop that job. People were stopping that job. However, automatically, because of that script, the job was restarted, and there was no control. And it took some time for the operations team to understand that there is a script in the background which is doing. So, I think there are some specific aspects which are kind of the reason behind the previous slide statistics which you explained.
Okay. But then we also need to add another element to this mix, and that other element being that most of the enterprises have moved from on-prem to a cloud environment, and they have cloud native environment. And how does automation play in this situation where customers have either fully moved on to cloud, or maybe the customers are in a hybrid situation where some of their IT infrastructure is on-prem, some of them is on private cloud, some of them is on public cloud. How does automation, what kind of a role does automation play in this new cloud native environment?
Very good question. And let me, I think the most important aspect with the cloudification is primarily that you need to understand the ownership dimension. And while we know that majority of the enterprise are moving in the cloud, many of them are going into the multi-cloud environments, and majority of them are kind of in the hybrid or the multi-cloud environments, struggling to understand the definition or the ownership dimension. So if you see that there are primarily, generally speaking, four kind of contracts are being signed between the customer and the cloud vendor. The on-prem, where the complete ownership is with the customer. The IaaS contract, where the infra, compute, storage, network is owned by the cloud vendor. Remaining things are owned by the customer. PaaS perspective, up to runtime, it is ownership with the cloud vendor, while from applications till the top, it is with the customer. And similarly, in the SaaS contract, digital experience and identity access management are with the customer. Now, automation is everywhere. Cloud vendor are offering that automation out of box because SLAs and the key KPIs are owned by the cloud vendors, not the responsibility of the customers. So customer primarily is looking for the automation solutions in the area where they have the ownership. While the area where they do not have the ownership, customer is looking for the visibility and the control. And if I give the simple example, for example, in the case of IaaS, the way automation requirements are changing, let's say customer has the priority to ensure the cost control of the resources they are utilizing on the cloud. So they would expect the visibility and the waste management or the sprawl management kind of solutions, which will ensure that they have a better control and governing aspect through the automations to keep the control and govern of the cost they are incurring. Well, if you go into the PaaS and SaaS kind of story, they primarily customers are looking for automations with respect to end user experience or the how to ensure the issue or the major incidents and do the issue isolations. The today customers are kind of facing because of the visibility challenges are in the reactive mode. So they are looking for how they can be the proactive. Now, obviously, the definition of the automations, the way it was implemented on the on-prem story is changing with this multi-cloud environments or the ownership dimension. And this is where I think the all different strategy when the customers are migrating to the multi-cloud is coming into the picture. Now, the most important aspect, there are two major issues with this scenario, the scattered visibility and the responsibility of the automation. And second is the blind spot of the automations, which organizations or enterprises are facing today. Once that is clear, I think the important aspect to meet the value dimension is the end-to-end observability to take any actions, whether it's to provide the business value or the IT operations value. And this is where the observability dimension is coming into the picture with this kind of change in the cloudification or the migration to the cloud or multi-cloud environment.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, I think that is where if you see, based on our survey, nearly 44% of the organizations says that their biggest internal challenge is growing IT complexity due to the cloud migration or adoption. And in fact, 92% are in the multi-vendor cloud strategy. So you can imagine the complexity for the automation or the value realizations.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is, as customers are moving from on-prem to SaaS, and then there are many customers who have a mix of all these things. Customers are focusing more and more on the end user experience aspect of it, because as far as automation for everything from, let's say, networking to DevOps or something like that, that is already taken care by the cloud service provider, by the cloud provider. So where customers can or enterprises can focus on are things like the end user experience. So one would argue that this has, I mean, so automation has completely moved away from, or it has shifted its focus from just a productivity enhancement to delivering business productivity enhancement and reducing the cost, to a business value delivery, and to kind of focusing on the revenue aspects of it, right?
Spot on. So it's primarily, I mean, there is still the productivity dimensions, however, it's reduced, and the focus is on the business value with respect to end user experience or uh, the reliability and the resiliency of their solutions. Because you may have the system or the solutions which are, or the business flows which are kind of using the past SaaS or IaaS kind of solutions together from the business perspective.
Mhm.
And that's where the focus is now moving into the improved business assurance. And this is where I think the topmost priorities for the CXO, uh, which or the CXOs are looking, and how automation needs to enable those priorities. So business assurance is the priority in the current scenario, what we explain, and they are expecting uh, reduce IT operational risk. So one other important dimensions from the CXO perspective is that what is the risk, because they do not have the control or the visibility directly for on the cloud resources, but they would like to definitely ensure that there are no non-compliance or there are no security risk for their uh, assets. So that is also the second important factor from the CXO perspective. The third dimension, as we discuss about the customer and end user experience, where many times they are kind of looking for that, while one particular business workflow or the journey is supported by a combination of IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, or the on-prem kind of solutions or the application systems. How I can proactively understand that these are the disruptive scenario, and how exactly proactively they can manage that solution or the situations in a better way through the automation. And recently, finally, in the last few years, we are also observing the CXOs. They are expecting the sustainability, not only in the cloud or data center, but also in their end user devices or in between everywhere, wherever possible. So these are the four dimensions which are the focus area. At least we are seeing generic requirement across the CXOs and the enterprises.
Okay, so this is why this has become more of a CXO level issue at this point in time, rather than just being the back office productivity enhancing per se. Yeah, okay. Now,
Correct.
yeah, let's get back to. I mean, you talked about the closed loop automation. Uh,
Yeah.
help us understand as to what is Digitate's closed loop automation strategy to deal with this changing automation landscape, and changing and the cloudification that is happening within the customer's environment and things like that.
Sure. So closed loop automation is primarily the combination of the three dimensions. Observability, where when I say observability, it's AI enabled observability. We are not talking about monitoring. We are using AI ML techniques, all the algorithms for the observability purpose. The second dimension is the models specific to the different enterprise IT operations value chain. When I say the models, it will be the models specific to infra operations, the cloud operations, application operations, SAP or non-SAP applications, batch operations, end user devices, and those aspects. And finally, the knowledge or the actions specific to the technology domains and the other areas. Now, these are the three most important dimensions which are the when you unify the AIML enabled observability and model specific to enterprise IT operations value change with domain specific actions, capabilities, and knowledge is what we call is a closed loop automation. Let me go to double click on these three dimensions. When I say the you need model specific to infra or cloud operations or batch operations, the model for batch operations, which is by default the tendency is asynchronous processing, is different. Their SLAs are different compared to the online transactions processing. or the models for SAP is exclusive compared to the non-SAP applications. Or similarly, end user device perspective, you have a different model. So what we are trying to bring is that observability, which is enabled by AI/ML across this enterprise value chain using this model, when you combine with the out-of-box capability of the actions, you are offering the closed-loop automations. And that's where you are giving the value with business value beside the IT operations value. So primarily, it's again the unifying the AI-enabled observability with the actions using the models or the specific enterprise value specific models is what we call the closed-loop automation.
So all these three things coming together, the observability, the AI-enabled observability, the domain-specific knowledge, and the intelligent actions. When these three things come together, that is where you get that closed-loop automation, is what you're saying, yeah?
Correct. And that is where, because that is the only way you can manage and give the value or to derive the value from the business perspective in the hybrid or multi-cloud kind of scenario,
Okay.
what we discussed in the past slide.
But let's, I mean, okay, fine. This is from a theoretical perspective, I can understand as to what you're saying. But give us some real life examples as to where is this closed loop automation used in real life, in various in a particular use case or so.
Yeah. I think that will help to explain the definition in a better way. Now, if you see the proactive incident management, the upper part is before the Ignio. This is how, and I'm explaining how Ignio is implementing these closed loop automations for the proactive incident
So
management.
Ignio is the name of the platform, right? The Digitate's AIOps platform, right?
Correct. It's a
Understand. Okay.
platform which offers the AIOps
That's
capabilities.
right. Yeah,
Correct.
because some people might be new to the word Ignio, so I'm just kind of.
Yeah. So I'm using our example, which will help me to explain the definition.
Sure,
So
sure.
you can imagine that there are application related latency issues. How they are managed today is that issues are occurring after sometimes this becomes the timeout errors, and then the in the reactive mode, the team L1, L2, L3 teams are working, and it is trying to do the detection, diagnosis, and the fixing, which is taking in hours. Now, with the closed loop automation solutions, what we do, we first understand the historical patterns. We establish the model through the observability, which is the entity, the relationships, and the associated attributes. These three dimensions as a part of the model. We also understand the time series based behavior. What is the normal behavior, or the whether it's a peak hour time, end of the day job, or the specific seasonality dimensions. That what is normal for those attributes associated with the entity. And when we use the algorithms for the observability purpose, when the data is in the motions or the transactions are being processed by that application solutions, then Ignio start using that learned knowledge or the observability to detect proactively the patterns which is moving towards the latency kind of issues. And before it occurs into the timeout or the availability downtime aspect, Ignio detects, diagnoses, and self-fill. This is what we call the complete observability, combining the observability, which was learned based on the historical data, using the model for these applications, in this case, the applications, the entity relationships, and their attributes, and the out-of-box knowledge. So let's say if there is an issue with the, for example, particular service or the service is down, or out of the cluster, one service is processing less number of requests, or the bandwidth issue. Then Ignio will automatically out of box using it, SOS will do the triaging, identify that these are the probable causes, and will try to fix them and recover the problem or avoid the incident. There might be a scenario where Ignio cannot fix everything. In that case, we complete the triage, take the ownership, and using the resolver analytics, we collaborate with the resolvers, and Ignio then learns from the subject matter experts that how this similar situation can be fixed next time the problem occurs. So this is what we call. Now, similarly, this is for the incident management. The same closed loop option we are also using for the change related aspect. So let's say if, for example, patching is the change, most common change, then many times we have observed after the patching, the business is impacted. So Ignio uses the pre-patching and post-patching checks, observability, identifies which are the particular services which are which are not running after the applying the patches business services, and will give the visibility and the suggestions that this services needs to be started based on the SOP. Then services can be start and avoid the business impact. Or similarly from the identity access management or those kind of service request, if request is raised in the ITSM, Ignio will automatically pick up those requests and process them immediately and with the minimum turnaround time. So these are the various examples of the closed loop, the how Ignio is managing.
So is this a slide, the key use cases slide? Is that the slide which
Yeah,
you're okay?
correct, correct. So now you can see the use cases across the value chains, whether it's a infra cloud application operations or the SAP operations, workload operation, digital workspace. In fact, we also have the AI assurance. So you can imagine based on the ownership dimensions. I mean, proactively we do the ready for business checks along with the fixes. The event management is the most common, where huge amount of noise can be suppressed or the ensure that the genuine alert events are not missed. Proactive and reactive incident management. So both the proactive dimension, which I explained in the previous, the reactive also is possible the similar way, where Ignio can do the triage and fix, or ITSM ticket creation, triaging, reporting, communications. Those are the common and the cloud-based management. The three dimension, if you see here, is that also from the DevSecOps perspective, Ignio offers the closed loop solutions in the patch management or the hardening compliance, misconfiguration aspect, certificate lifecycle, or the role sprawl or the dormant users. What we mean is that if I give the example, let's say Ignio will proactively detect that there is a role sprawl on the cloud or there are number of dormant users. It gives that observability, give the recommendations that these users access, probably either they have the extra accesses or those users access should be deprovisioned. And with the approval from the subject matter experts, Ignio can go and close the loop, remove the unnecessary accesses or deprovision the users. Or from the misconfiguration management aspect, out of box capabilities are there with respect to the nest controls. Ignio will proactively provide that observability that these are the controls which are the non-compliance or the deviation from the baseline. Ignio will allow the exception management or the remediations automated or with the approval, or the hardening aspect or the patch management aspect. And the third aspect is more with respect to the productivity aspect also. One important aspect is the AI assurance and the synthetic monitoring, where in the cloud scenario, the scenario which we understood, the SaaS PaaS kind of scenario, this is very important. It builds the complete business workflow critical path and the associated metrics and does the synthetic monitoring and identify if there are any issues. It can also ingest specific faults and those kind of things to detect the behavior. So it allows you both feedback and feed forward controls. Similarly, in the SAP case, you can see the IDOC is the most important aspect for the SAP communication between SAP and non-SAP solutions. So Ignio monitors, gives the observability with respect to locked IDOCs, give that visibility recommendations, and based on the approval, Ignio unlocks the IDOCs and avoiding the major, the suspension of the business processes, whether it's the order to process or the invoicing or any other functions. Health check is also very important aspect, where again proactively it detects there are any specific issue, and if there are issues, then it will avoid. Master data is very important aspect in the SAP. Similarly, the batch perspective, the infra level file feeds, the ability to perform actions or the triaging and the fixing issues, whether it's at the starting, restarting, suspending jobs, or the issues associated with the infra or long running query can be managed. And digital workspace, there are desktop laptop management or the application management, network management, detection, removal of the blacklisting, so software metering. And these are the most common use cases which customers are using and giving the value. I mean, if you give some simple example in the desktop laptop management, let's say if device is slow or desktop application is not working or slow, or the policy is not updated or the old policy is applied on the desktop, then it can enforce and ensure compliance or end user experience with respect to detecting the or fixing the issue why devices are slow. Or application management perspective, if there are issues with the emails, enterprise applications like email, Office 365 and those things, it will ensure that those applications are running. And there are, let's say, issues specific to the enterprise applications, it will give the visibility and control to the operations team. or the end users. In fact, it also allows you to give the self-service kind of capability on the to the user itself. And similarly, network management, let's say if web application is not working or the backup folders are not found or they cannot connect to the printer or internet, those kind of issues. So it is primarily, I think these are the some common use cases which are giving value or being implemented or most generic applicability, I would say. But yes, these are the use cases which are kind of
Okay.
impacting both
Yes.
IT operations and the business value.
Yeah. So I think the I like the way we went about it in the sense that you first highlighted what exactly is closed loop automation, which is a combination of observability, domain specific models, and things like that. And that's how you come to closed loop automation. That is one. And then I think we went into one particular use case about IT incident management and got into the detail of IT incident management. How was the situation before closed loop automation came into picture and how it was after closed loop automation came into picture. And here you're saying that okay, that was just one of the many use cases where this closed loop automation is applicable. Here are the other use cases at the infra level, at the SAP level, at the batch level, at the digital work experience level. So so how this closed loop automation concept is applicable across multiple domains and multiple use cases as such. So I can see that okay, this can provide a lot of value uh, to the IT operations folks also, and also the business folks, right?
Correct. Spot on. Exactly. So if you can imagine the business people or the customers are using the applications from their laptop desktop, or the batch critical business processes are run as a part of the batch job or the SAP operations. Very
Mhm.
important, right? Majority of the business functions in the SAP non-SAP applications or the batch processes are important for the business persona.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe I think some of the success story or the value business value dimensions I explained that will help to give the context of how the closed loop automation is helping the industry practically.
okay. So
So,
these all these value that you talk about on the left hand side on the slide over here,
uh,
okay, on the slide over here. These are all essentially uh, values that will be near and dear to every person on the business side also, right? Revenue assurance, customer experience, employee productivity, business process resilience, and things like that. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. In fact, let me start to so revenue assurance aspect. This is the largest independent power producer globally, and they are operating in 70 countries with 5 continents with $60 billion in revenue, and there are 150,000 plus associates globally. Uh, their problem primarily was poor revenue realizations because of the backlog issues, such as end users account is not settled on time due to the numerous reasons, and which was causing the loss of revenue for the customer. And this amount was unrecognized, and obviously having hence the direct impact on the revenue realizations. Similarly, they were having the invoice issues. Due to incorrect invoices, consumers face major inconvenience and obviously the end user experience, right? The dunning and payment transaction loss, the overall calls from end user or the customer to the service desk was increased. So it was both the end user experience and the extra unnecessary load on the service desk. And overall life cycle management from the customer perspective was impacting. Now, what Ignio offered the solution because it was the SAP area, and the most effective reliable solutions where Ignio was handling primarily six main aspects with respect to customer challenges, which we described. So it was doing the mass correction and validation of the meter reads, ensuring the correct calculation of the bill, streamlined posting of payments and refunds, and then blocking the creation of erroneous invoice. Uh, there was also the penalty calculations, which was having also many times the wrong invoice and amount, which was also detected as a part of the closed loop automation. And finally, closed loop automation of credit rewards to the customer for them. So Ignio provided this complete closed loop automation solutions for the SAP non-SAP applications and ensured that there are the what we call clear-cut business value with respect to revenue assurance as well as the end user experience. And you can also imagine many times it impacts the brand image when you are having wrong invoices in those aspects. So this was truly the business value for the company and for the end users also. Similarly, the second example where customer is the it's primarily the what we call leading US based pharmacy with the huge amount of not on file. So NOF is not on file scenario. So if I give the context of the retail industry, you have the systems where the prices are detected, and those backend systems should be synchronized with your store systems to provide the appropriate latest value or the pricing. Now, many times this particular customers are experiencing that not on file scenario where the prices are not synced or updated in the store systems. And when the customer is coming and trying to buy particular item, because of the not on file, either the person on the till has to manually enter those details, or sometimes that details even after entering is not appearing the price. So it was two major impact for the business. One, the unnecessary end user experience, and second, many times customer will then say, okay, I don't want to buy, and loss of the business. So Ignio ensured that there is a missing price or the product informations between the backend system and the POS with respect to not on file, and ensured that this is avoided. 100% it was avoided, and hence the better end user experience plus the revenue aspect. Similarly, in the case of leading auto and cycling product retailer, I think this particular industry, obviously during the pattern of the industry is during the vacation period, you will have huge amount of employees joining, moving and living. So there were a number of issues, the onboarding, offboarding, which used to take 5 days and directly impacting the productivity of the people, and obviously then the service to the end user or the customer who are buying renting is also clearly impacted. So we completely automated and ensured that the turnaround time is reduced in the hours, and ensure that the people are ready to work on the day zero itself, and providing the service and ensuring the end user experience and the revenue aspect as well. And similarly, the automobile manufacturers, I think this particularly was interesting scenario where vehicle identification number to VSA applications, there were the duplicate key related things. And the resiliency was the major challenge, where they were always detecting the issues in the reactive mode. We implemented the proactive health checks, identifying the issue proactively before the business reports them, and fix it in the background. There were issues associated with the provisioning disk space, table space, or in some cases there were issues particular, let's say service is down or we need to restart the service because of the memory issues and provisioning aspect. And this is how we ensure that the both the end user experience and the business use the people who are working on this in the for the manufacturing industry is providing the value. So these are some of the examples. If I go to the different examples in the case of IT, I will not take more time because we have, I think we are approaching the time. But
Yes.
with the IT operations persona, this slide is trying to cover how it is giving value to the IT operations. The previous slide was purely the business value dimensions. This slide is effort optimization aspect, noise separation aspect, operational risk and the hardening or the misconfiguration avoiding aspect, autonomous incident response aspect, and the resource optimization.
Okay.
These are the very important, I think, use cases. While it is directly helping to the IT operations persona, indirectly it is also ensuring the
Okay. Yeah, I think what you're highlighting over here is how closed loop automation is not necessarily only at the IT operations level, but it is also delivering value at the business level, and the business value, and uh, uh, why it is a concept, a technology which is essentially uh, provides IT value and also the business value. Now, okay, that's I can get that. Okay, now, Jatin, no no webinar nowadays can be completed without talking about Gen AI. Okay, so help us understand as to how Gen AI is being introduced into IT, into IT automation, and what is the relevance of Gen AI when it comes to IT operations. Jatin, are you on mute by any chance?
Yeah, I'm sorry, BS. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I
yes, I
lost the
can hear you
connectivity.
now. Yeah.
I lost the connectivity. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I was saying that nowadays none of the webinar can be completed without talking about Gen AI. So here you go.
Right. Yeah, right. No, not sure. So, so interesting. I think, in fact, we are definitely Gen AI is going to complement the business value with respect to closed loop automation. And today, if you see, today we have human in the loop, where whether it's the learning the context, or when I say learning the context, it's primarily I'm talking about the observability dimensions, which we are the most important aspect to combine or unify with the automation and the domain models for the closed loop automation. So today, domain knowledge models are kind of human is in the loop, or the resolution aspect, and for the particularly for the exceptions are there, or the performing actions. Many times, code needs to be created by the people. Not everything is out of box because of the variations in the across the industry and the analysis of the insights. With the Gen AI, what we are expecting is that it will change or complement. So learn context should be without the human in the loop, should also it should accelerate the knowledge and the learning the observability and the context of the behavior patterns using AIML and the Gen AI. Similarly, the collaborative resolutions will also be very easy, and we will kind of move towards the self-service mode. Perform actions, we are already kind of doing the beta where the code accelerator code will be generated for the specific requirements based on the scenario or the situations. And finally, the intelligent conversation engine where self-service Gen AI will definitely enable that part. And it will also enable to optimize proactively the problems which are coming, like multivariable analytics and those kind of activity. What we are also expecting is that it will be persona specific. So while we are giving the value to the business, there will be a specific persona which will be beneficial. Let's say service desk persona. Automatically, the Gen AI should give them the complete visibility of the specific background information when someone is calling. And down the line, I think the future is that we are probably moving towards a ticketless enterprise with this Gen AI. When I say ticketless, I'm not saying that there will not be any ticket for it will be primarily the ticket for the auditability and traceability purpose. But primarily we will move towards the area where it will be a self-service and the automated closed loop automations to avoid incidents or reduce or proactively avoid the incidents or fix serving the service request or changes automatically. But that is where we are going in the loop. I think we are just a couple of minutes above the time. Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yes.
okay. Okay, we already received the. Okay, hey,
Yeah.
Jatin, thank you so much. Thanks a lot for giving time and kind of walking us through this whole journey of automation and how the automation plays a role in this new cloud world, cloud native environments, and how it is delivering value not only to the IT people but also at the business level also. Thanks for walking us through the multiple use cases where it is used and through multiple examples that you gave for how the value was delivered to these things, and finally to the Gen AI things. So thank you very much for that. And I also want to thank the audience for kind of participating in this webinar. I appreciate that. And for all the folks, there are these downloadable assets you will see. I talked about the media survey, that is a survey on the left-hand side, AI and automation. This was the media survey, as I mentioned, where we interviewed more than 600 plus IT business leaders, and every business leader kind of managing, companies which are more than 1,000 plus employees or so. And the this particular survey talks about AI and automation, how it is being implemented in these their environments. That is one. And on the right hand side, you will see this closed loop automation. It is a 2-3 pager, basically synopsis of what Jatin was talking about as far as closed loop automation is concerned. So, folks, thank you very much. Thanks a lot for joining. And please do join every second Wednesday of the month. We have a Digitate webinar. And please definitely join us. And I think we'll see you next month, same second Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, folks. Thanks, Jatin. Thanks a lot. Saili, thank you very much for
Thank you very much.
organizing this.
Thank you,
And
VS.
I
Thank you
think
so
we
much.
are five
Thank you all.
minutes on the time, but I think we captured the essence of it. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Bye.